Hey, welcome to the Old Friends and New Roads podcast. My name's Keith.
My name's Eric.
My name's John.
I'm Kate.
And joining us live from the Chill and Phil, we have Amanda Zito from As the Magpie Flies.
Yay.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yes, thanks for being here.
So cool to have you. I got to admit, we're kind of like we're the family that sits and puts your channel on the large TV while we sit in the living room kind of thing.
That's awesome.
I'm super
We
into
binge
it.
watch.
Yeah. I like the art direction. Obviously, we're all into motorcycle traveling, so that part is cool. But no, you do really good videos.
Thank you.
Just hands down. Love seeing you dance on the bike.
And in the fields and wherever you're at.
With your rain fly, yeah.
Yeah.
You have great personality.
I have people now who are upset if I don't do the dance with the rain fly when I'm
Uh-oh.
setting up
Oh,
the tent.
really?
No.
That's funny.
That
I like
funny.
it. I don't know. It's just there's something about your channel that's like, it's honest.
Real.
I don't know any other way to put it besides that. Like when I watch it, I feel like that's what your character is, and I just appreciate that.
I haven't had anybody tell me that I am different in real life than I am in my videos, so I'm pretty proud of that. So you can let me know if it's
Yeah.
different in real life.
Yeah, that's
just
always
as
good.
amazing.
It's like, yeah, you're not what I thought you were. It's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I guess that could be good or bad if somebody likes the videos or not.
Yeah. So we'll start kind of with the recent stuff. You just got done with an 8-day tour of Oregon.
This is true, yes.
Started as a 10-day.
Yeah, the weather had other plans.
Yeah, it was a rough week.
Yeah. We started out the week like it was beautiful. Like up until I got to Unity, Oregon, like Maupin to Fossil and that whole area was gorgeous. And I am really glad that I this trip made a point to make it so that my days were under 200 miles so that I could really enjoy going through Central Oregon. And I've always loved it through there, and I have experience now from past trips. It always takes longer than you think it's going to, and gas stations are few and far between, so you fill up as much as possible.
What kind of range do you get on your bike?
If I stretch it, it's about 200 miles, but I like to fill up every 175. Yeah, I don't think that I've ever run... No, I have run totally out of gas on this bike in Texas under an overpass, but I always have like a little, like, I don't know how many ounces it is, but a little
Looks
gas
like a
can.
32 ounce jug there.
Yeah. It's between 18 and 30, I think.
So we watched you go over Hood, and then you said you ended up towards Unity, but the first night was like Maupin, right?
Yeah, the first night I was outside of Maupin. Ironically, that campsite I scouted out in like 2017 for a Harley camp out, and obviously we didn't camp there because it's totally gravel all the way into the site. So it was awesome to actually get to go back and actually camp there at a site that I had scouted out like years before, and it ended up being like the best campsite of the whole trip. Little did I know. And then I camped in Bear Hollow County Park outside of Fossil. I think they do like a big motorcycle camp out there every year. Big might be a strong word for it.
A motorcycle camp.
Yeah, motorcycle camp out happens at that county park every year, so it was cool to camp there even if it wasn't during the camp out. Unfortunately, that day I lost my water cell. So even though I got to the campground like pretty early, like 5:30 or something like that, ready to set up in the daylight,
Yeah.
Nice.
I realized that my water cell was gone, and I rode all the way back to the Clarno unit, which is like 40 some miles or something like that, and like retraced my steps going like 20 miles per hour. It never found the water cell. It was very upsetting.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Man.
Yeah, I had a backup. I always have a backup water bladder for like dirty water so I can filter if I need to. So I had an extra water bladder for the rest of the trip. That wasn't a big deal. It's just very upsetting because I loved that water cell.
Yeah.
Shout out to Moto Camp Nerd because he was amazing. He sent me a new one once I got back.
Oh, nice.
So that was super awesome. But kind of a bummer. Meant that I got back to camp at like 7:30. Sent out the tent in the dark.
Oh,
Classic
no.
Amanda.
At least you're good at it.
Yeah.
I love the shot you get on that video particularly was with the stars, man.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
I was going to ask you
beautiful.
how long it takes to get that, because that's got to be a time lapse, right?
Yeah, it takes a long time. A bunch of people were like, "Why did you stay up until 1 a.m.? Like, were you cleaning your pot? Was the rice burned that bad?" I was like, no, that's how long it takes. Like, to like try to wait until the stars are really like out in the sky to be able to time lapse them properly. And because like 1 hour of time lapse equals like 5 seconds of footage.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, especially doing a star trail time lapse instead of just doing a normal time lapse, because like the way that the camera has to process that footage, like even if you do take like 4 or 5 frames, it really only equates to like 1 or 2 frames because it overlaps on each other to create that star trail kind of effect.
Yeah, well, that was worth it.
Yeah.
It was hard on you, but
We appreciate your effort.
Thank you.
What kind of camera are you using for that?
So for the star trails, I use my Sony A7R II.
Okay.
And then most of the stuff where you can see me like holding the camera up and talking to it, most of that stuff is my Sony A5100 just because it's lighter. It's easier to hold up.
yeah.
Right.
And then I have the GoPro Hero 7 on the helmet and then the Osmo Action on the handlebars. And then I have a drone. And I think that's all of them.
Just cambered up.
It's quite a
Yeah.
lot.
Now I know the last time lapse I really tried to get was a sunrise. Like I got out there and I walked down to the lake. We were at Detroit, and I was like, "All right, it's sunrise." I go down there, and what I didn't account for was the big fucking mountain in the way. And so I was recording for probably an hour and a half, and then I got so cold that I had to give up and bail, and I was so disappointed at what I ended up with.
Yeah.
It was just like I had like a cloud that kind of went swiggled back and forth slightly.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it. So,
Definitely a thing that you only get better at with practice. And if you can, like, take shorter ones at the beginning to do a test, that is the better the situation comes out with. Like, I probably take, like, 3 or 4 time lapses before I get the good one where you can actually see the clear star trails and everything like that. I think, like, in the video, the first episode of the Oregon trip, you can see, like, I did, like, a sunset time-lapse, and then it kind of fades into, like, the first star trail that I did as a test, and it's super dark, and you can't see a lot of the stars. And then I start talking, and then I overlaid the good one. And, like, that was, like, 2 hours to even get to that point where I was getting the good one.
yeah, I did notice there was like they were kind of short, but then, yeah, at the end, they were just incredibly long.
Yeah.
So, super cool. So that it was 10 days, but it was weather. You were just sick of that.
Yeah,
right?
so I got to Unity and like the wind started moving in, so I got a hotel in Unity, and I was hoping it was just like a kind of a temporary thing. And when I met up with my brother in Oahe, we saw the dark clouds coming, and we were like, it'll be fine. Everything will be fine.
We're going to miss it mostly.
Yeah.
And we went down to Oahe State Park, which, by the way, if anybody's never been there, the Oahe Canyonlands are just gorgeous and so worth it. The route down to the Oahe State Park is paved. We found, of course, because it's me, a gnarly dirt route out of the state park to get back to like the main road. And I dumped my bike twice. Gary dumped his bike at least once. He says that it doesn't count though because it was standing still.
Did the kickstand sunk in or something?
Yeah. I dumped my bike first, like pretty gnarly. I caught my rear tire on a rock going on an uphill, and went over. The windshield popped off, and I was like this close to the edge of the cliff. For those who can't see me holding my hands up, it's like 6 inches.
Wow.
Jeez.
And I got up, and I was like, well, I didn't go over the cliff, so that's cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I was following that along your Instagram because that stuff's
Yeah.
not out yet.
Yeah.
And like you ended up on one of them, like your bike ended up perpendicular to like the road. And I was just
Yeah.
like, oh man, that's brutal.
Yeah, so I think that was the first one. I ended up like kind of like this, and we kind of tilted it around so I could pick it up. And then my brother had got onto the kickstand, and so I started reloading it back up because we took my duffel off because my duffel is a lot of weight. It has most of my camping gear in it. So I took the duffel off so we could pick it up properly without it sliding everywhere. And I was putting the duffel back on and like cinching it down like I do, and the whole thing went again.
Oh no.
This time on the kickstand with the kickstand down, so every time we tried to pick it up, it just span. Like,
Oh.
Wow.
So
Have you ever gotten super hurt And a drop?
Not from a drop. I did break my wrist on the Tiger in 2018. I didn't drop the bike though. I probably would have been in better shape had I dropped the bike. Yeah.
Sometimes the response to something like that is definitely
Yeah.
not helpful.
I hit a culvert that was going straight across the road, and it was one of those, if you're riding in the forest and there's shade from a tree and you're in bright sunlight, sometimes you can't see the stuff that's in the shade like immediately.
Yeah, that's
Totally.
the worst.
And the culvert was right there in that transition, and my whole front end went into it and popped out, and I was on the bars pretty tight, and you're not supposed to be. I was cursing out a truck.
tense.
It was very karma. There was this truck that was parked like halfway in a corner, so I was cursing out the truck like you couldn't move like 10 feet up and over to the side, and I was cursing out the truck in my head, and that's when I hit the culvert, and my hands were on the bars too tight, and I jarred my wrist, and I broke the little bone below your wrist, below your thumb in your wrist. They call it the snuff box.
The snuff box. Nice.
And when I finally went to the emergency room the next day or whatever, he was like, yeah, it's kind of a common dirt bike injury because of the impact. Yeah.
Wow. How long did you ride after that? Like with the broken?
40 miles.
Wow. It's like Keith had an
Yeah.
incident on the Oregon coast.
Yeah, I broke my hand while we were out there
Yeah.
too. But mine was because I was walking out on the jetty and I fell down, and my hand went like in between rocks, and I broke. You can see it there. My
Yeah.
index metacarpal, I think.
Yeah.
That was,
then
that
the
was a
ride all
long
the way home.
130
That was a
miles.
long
Yeah.
ride home.
It was a messy ride too, right?
Yeah, it was foggy and cold and
Raining,
traffic
yeah.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the trip before I had the inReach, so I didn't have any way to tell anybody where I was. And so I rode another 10 miles before I met up with some guys on side-by-sides, and they had an inReach. But I didn't know at that point that they could just send direct coordinates to my parents exactly where we were. So I told them to meet me in Lolo, and they were like, are you sure you can make it all the way to Lolo? That was like 90 miles. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, you can't think of anything that's closer. And I was like, Loxaw is close. They can meet me at Loxaw. And I was like, they were like, okay. And they would half set up camp, and they had packed everything up to follow me out to make sure that I could make out.
why didn't they just tell you that they could have sent the coordinates to right where you were? Like, hey, we can bring them to you. Like, you don't have to go anywhere.
Probably because I was like half on adrenaline.
Yeah.
Just in your own little world.
Yeah.
I don't know. You imagine if we sent your parents coordinates, they'd never find it.
I don't know. Her parents seem different. I saw her riding with her dad.
maybe.
Yeah.
He was working that OnX app pretty well.
Yeah, no, my dad's pretty awesome. Gary probably would have been able to work it out. And I was also pretty convinced that Gary would not have been able to ride the Tiger out of where we were. I still went through some gnarly rocky shit before I even got out. Excuse me.
No, you're good.
It's all good.
And like ultimately I'm sure Gary would have been able to get it out, but at that point I was like I'm not leaving my bike in the woods. Like I gotta get out of this. Like you pick weird priorities when you're like full of adrenaline like that. And that was my priority. I was like, I'm not leaving my bike in the woods. Nobody
Yeah.
else is getting my bike out of the woods. I'm gonna get it out of the woods.
You got to save your horse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where is
Or shoot it, John.
ADV just the new jam for you?
That's an interesting question. In the grand scheme of things, I probably have always been ADV, because my first bike was a 1980 Suzuki GSA 50, but that's because what I could afford. But I've always been taking it off-road. Like any bike that I've had, I've always taken it off-road. Even when I was jamming like the Honda Shadow, like I went up like every 4 service roads that I could get up into the bitter with that thing.
That's great.
And so the CB500X, like my first, some people would not call that a proper ADV bike. It's still technically street. But that was like the first thing that like had proper suspension and was fuel injected and was like made to somewhat actually do what I was doing.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that any bike is an adventure bike if you try hard enough.
I don't know. Me and Eric are both on just the gigantic baggers, and it's a nightmare.
They're so heavy.
Have you guys watched Dos Honduros?
No.
So there's these 2 guys in Washington, and they took 80s Gold Wings and they like initially they went to Rocky Mountain Roll within like the second year of Rocky Mountain Roll, and they had dirt bikes like mounted on the back seats of these Goldwings. Okay,
gosh.
like watching them get them off and put back on was like the best spectacle I could have ever asked for an event. But after that, they went back to Washington and they did the whole of the Wobder on 80s Goldwings. Okay. Well, if you don't know what a Wobder is, it's like the Washington Backcountry Discovery Route. So it's this gnarly, well, not super gnarly, but it's an all
Not
dirt
like break
route.
your wrist gnarly.
Yeah, some parts, yeah. It's this all dirt route from southern Washington all the way to the top of Washington, and it's pretty much all dirt. There's a couple of paved sections, and there's a section in the middle called Baby Head Hill because it's full of rocks that are like this big, and it's like a steep incline. So just like perspective, they did this on 80s Goldwings.
Wow.
And a windjammer.
I know those 80s, they have weights on the front of them, I think, so that they don't lift off.
I think so. Unclear. I mean, like they
I've
definitely have
heard
the
that.
whole front end.
Yeah. I got a guy I used to work with. I guess like if you hit like 70 in an old Goldwing, there's the aerodynamics of them. They had to add weights on the front forks, otherwise the front tire would lift off. It's so funny. Maybe that helped you on
for
Baby
nothing.
Head Hill.
Yeah, maybe. Get you over those rocks.
Yeah, I don't know. My bike's 950, and it just, I can't go over one of the tar things without having to fucking shit myself. You know?
That's true. It's true.
The thing that I think is cool about them specifically is that it definitely puts into perspective that it's all skill. It doesn't matter what kind of bike you have, it's all skill. And so if you're skilled enough, you can do whatever you want on whatever bike you have. And it actually, like, if you think about it historically, like, I did an interview with my grandmother while I was home, and she was talking about, like, hill climbs and doing cross country and all this kind of stuff in the 60s and 70s. And they didn't have the kind of like
suspension.
Exactly. Any of the technology that we have now. So they were doing all of that gnarly stuff that we think only like, 200, 300 pound dirt bikes can do with like a lot of clearance and all this kind of stuff on bikes like my Lazarus, like the 1980 Suzuki.
I guess it's skill and how
And practice
how
also.
fat your pocketbook is, because
How much time off work can you afford?
yeah, I don't know. It's like the bikes are so expensive.
Yeah.
And if I drop that thing, I'm gonna cry.
For sure. For sure.
I mean, it's not made to drop either, so there's that.
I mean, they're not crash guards. I learned that at the
Oh,
dealership.
yeah, that's
You're
right.
not supposed to call them crash
what are
guards.
they, highway?
They're engine guards.
Oh, engine guards. That's
Yeah.
right.
Engine guards. Yeah.
Right.
So we've watched, I don't know, I love the Flight of the Magpie. That was such a great series. And we're kind of working backwards, so I think we're probably halfway through your pilgrimage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's nuts. I don't know. That's the best way to put it.
I'm so sorry you have to watch that.
No.
I love
say
the little
that.
tally that you run on the pilgrimage of like
Drops
things
and
that you've
lost
lost, how many
items
things you've dropped. That just makes me laugh. But the Flight of the Magpie was really good. That was like a trip that we all want to do,
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty proud of that. I looked particularly like the end product and how it came out. I was really proud of that.
Yeah.
Um,
You should be.
Thank you. The reason I say I'm sorry is because like I can't even watch the pilgrimage now. It hurts. It's so bad.
Well, okay, be specific. What do you mean it hurts? Like
Oh,
the
just
way
like
that
it's
you
cringy
filmed it?
for you.
It's cringy for me. Like I wasn't comfortable talking to the camera. Like that was like pretty much the first time that I had ever vlogged.
But you did it.
I did do it. And then especially the second half of the trip, I went through like mid-trip depression. So I refused to talk to the camera at all. And so that's why you have a lot of like future me talking to the camera, explaining what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And for me watching it back now, it feels super disconnected. You're not actually like it feels just disconnected because it's so much harder for you in the future to convey what you were feeling in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. you're right.
And I think the fact that I couldn't talk to the camera because I was in like middle trip depression, and I like it's really hard to convey to people like what I was feeling because I couldn't talk to the camera at that point. And talking about what was happening post trip I didn't want to talk about the fact that I was in post-trip, like middle trip depression. Because everybody talks about post-trip, like you get back, oh, this sucks, I have to go back to real life.
Yeah.
But nobody talks about when you get in the middle of the trip and like the things that you have to do every day, which like at the beginning of the trip is like amazing and super simple.
Yep.
All you're responsible for is getting yourself from point A to point B, feeding yourself and keeping the bike running. That's awesome at the beginning of a trip. But in the middle of the trip, it becomes a slog and you're kind of like, why am I even doing this? Like, what is the point? Like,
Do you feel like that is correlated with the fact that you're doing it primarily on your own?
I don't know. I still really got it when I did the Baja trip with a bunch of other people. I got into the middle of it, and I think it's worse when I travel with other people because I just become resentful.
Well, there's a lot of other people to consider.
Yeah. Because like I'm very bad at compromise.
Well, you all have your own trip in mind. That's fair.
Exactly. And so like I get to the middle and like we didn't get to do any of the things that we said that we were going to do when we set out. And so then I was just pissed at like half of the group and the other half of the group is just trying to contain my anger.
Yeah.
Get a Snickers bar.
Yep.
I have like serious respect for Carl and Emerald on that trip because like they were like the only thing that kept me from screaming at literally everybody else.
So I'm curious, we started our channel because we've been on all these long trips that we don't have memories of anymore because they just all kind of blend. So we're like, man, if we started recording this stuff, then we can kind of rewatch it and relive it. And then it turns out like the better the video quality, the better the memory is that you save. Mm-hmm. You know, what was your thoughts on starting your channel? Was it more that you wanted to have a YouTube channel, or was it like your video journal, like kind of like what we're talking?
Yeah, so I didn't expect anybody to watch any of my videos. It was just meant for me, especially the pilgrimage specifically. I started it. So it started out. I was just going to start the YouTube channel so that I could document this thing that I didn't think that I was going to be able to do ever again. I didn't think I would ever be able to do a long trip like that ever again. I thought it was like a once in a lifetime thing. And I'm terrible at keeping like a written journal. Mm-hmm. I can't do it to save my life. Yeah.
No way.
I can keep up like the first two days and then it's over.
Super good. First, then it's just doodles.
And then it's just over. Yeah.
I can't even find the notebook doodles.
And so I was like, well, like long way around, like they did like the video journals, and I was like, well, I could do that. I could talk to a camera, like pretend it's like my family, because like that's essentially what I do. Like when I end up calling my family anyway, is like this really long-winded story about what happened to me today, like. And I was like, I could just do that to the camera and like maybe get a couple of clips here and there. And then I had internet friends at that point, Justin and Kira Coffee, and they were doing the social media for Wolfman and Icon at the time. And they were like, well, tell us about your trip, you know, like, do you need anything? And I was like, I don't know. And so Wolfman came on board. They gave me luggage, like, which was incredible because, like, nobody knew who I was. I had, like, maybe 600 followers on Instagram and that kind of stuff. They really took a chance on me. And then Icon sent me a helmet so that I could have something other than a built helmet to do this trip with. It was awesome. And so then I was like, oh, well, I have to do this now, so that I have something to give back to these brands who have invested, you know, a goodly amount of like equipment in me. So
a little more, has that taken away at all?
No, I don't think so.
You don't feel like there's like a need to produce? Like if you
like
just,
an obligation?
if you just changed your mind and just started writing again, you know, is it shitty or?
I don't think so.
No, it's fine.
I think I didn't feel like the expectation that I have to do this, because it wasn't in a contract or anything that I had to produce these videos for them. Maybe it would have been different if it was in the contract or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, they were just kind of like, we like what you're doing. Here's some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And reviews and that kind of photos and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I think that in the beginning it helped me like actually ground myself in what I was doing, because the whole like premise of that trip, even before sponsors came on, was because I was in a really shit situation with my job. I had a really emotionally abusive boss that had essentially convinced me that I wasn't worth anything and that I was just a pile of shit.
Jesus.
Fuck that guy or girl.
Girl.
Fuck that girl.
Yeah.
And I was there for 3 years. I stuck it out the whole 3 years, and like the last year of it, the only thing that kept me going was like, I'm gonna quit, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna reground myself, and I'm gonna figure out who I am again, because like I had no concept of myself at all. Like I only ate soup every day, like, cause like the taste buds were just dead. Like, it was crazy thinking about it now. So I quit the job to do that trip, and it was like 2.5 months or something like that. And, I do get a lot of people who are like, why did you switch bikes halfway through? Well, because the section that I went to Motos and Moab wasn't actually a part of the trip in my head. Like, that was like a last minute thing because somebody who was following my blog at the time sent me money so I could buy a ticket to Motos and Moab.
No, that was that was hilarious. You went to like Utah before starting your trip.
Yes.
It's like shit. That's so far. It's like, well, we're gonna head up to Montana now so I can start my trip. And normally, because we're kind of at like this year we're doing 10 days, and we're kind of doing this Redwoods, Lake Tahoe, Idaho Glacier Circle thing. But you know, our listeners are I beat this to death. I bring it up every episode. In 2025, we're all planning for Alaska and back. And the reason why it's so far out is because we all, you know, taking a month off is a really tricky part.
Yeah.
So, you know, what's your Alaska trip? Is there any gigantic thing on your horizon?
Bucket list kind of thing.
Besides
Like,
driving all the way to the East Coast?
Get to the Atlantic Ocean. I mean,
aside from the
Right
really
on.
big, long, cool trip.
Yeah.
I have always said like the ultimate no money barred, like, you know, like if everything like ran smoothly and it was fine. I want to ride in China so bad.
Wow.
China?
Yes, I think it would be so cool. The problem being that like you have to pay for you to have a guide the whole time that you're there. You can't ride anywhere by yourself.
Can't shake them on a set of twisties?
Yeah, no. So you have to have not only pay for yourself and a bike to get there,
another person.
but
to
you also have
escort
to pay for another whole other person there.
I'd lose that guy.
No, maybe not though. I mean, he might.
Why is he
They
carrying
might be
guns
taking
or
photos.
something?
You know, they
Yeah.
might show you stuff that you wouldn't have known about because the internet, you know?
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. I feel like you can go to China and buy some bike and nobody's the wiser.
No.
I've
I've done a lot of research about this, okay?
What is that? The C90 guy that
Oh, yeah.
he does some crazy stuff.
Yeah, but I think he did do a tour in China. They did have a guide the
Did
whole
they?
time. Yeah.
Fucker.
Well, I thought he
Misleading.
went somewhere to be a guide, didn't he? We were watching
Yeah,
videos
like he's
of
like a
him.
Vietnam guide, I think.
Yeah, and in Thailand?
Oh, I can't
maybe?
remember.
Where's Thailand?
He was definitely somewhere far.
Or they did it.
The small details.
I know that there was one
They're
that they
big.
went across like Mongolia or something, right? And I don't know.
Yeah, it was like 10 random people.
Talking out my butt. I don't know anything I'm talking about.
Google it, people.
That's it. So China, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I think that
What
would be
about
really
China draws you? Like, what is it?
Cool. The
Landscape?
Hunan province, I think, is just incredibly beautiful. Like, for pretty much last 2 years of college, I used to like go to sleep watching the Hunan like China documentary on Netflix. But I've always been like super fascinated with Chinese culture, like growing up. Like, I just think that's just so fascinating because it's so different from like what we experienced growing up.
And everything's so old. Like you're never going
Their
to find
history
stuff
is
that
insane.
old. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I get that. You have trips this year planned still?
So I've got the Idaho BDR coming up in June. Yes. Idaho BDR coming up in June. I can't talk about July right now because that's still formulating. And then
Rocky Mountain Roll sold out.
Yes,
right?
Rocky Mountain Roll sold out.
I tried to get
That's
tickets for it.
in August, beginning of August.
Because our trip this year kicks off the weekend that you are doing Rocky Mountain Roll.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah. Rocky Mountain Roll actually started as a party to end the pilgrimage. I didn't think anybody would show up. And I just wanted to be like, come back and like have a little party. Like, I lived off of my bike for like 2.5 months.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And obviously it's not crazy to think about now. There's so many people who just like live off of their vehicles. I had no concept of that when I did
It's
this
still
trip.
crazy.
Like, and so I was like, oh, I'll just like invite some of my close friends. And then I think once it like hit like 10 or 15 people who wanted to come, then my mom was like, oh no, you have to buy insurance and you're going to rent porta potties for these people because I'm not having them pooping in my yard, you know?
Yeah.
So I had to, like, in order to be able to pay to like rent porta potties and get insurance, like event insurance to cover this. I don't know what she was afraid of. Like, people were going to set fire to the barn. I don't know. And I started an Eventbrite so people could buy tickets so that we could all share the cost of renting porta potties and the insurance and that kind of stuff. And I didn't know that you could set it to have private events on Eventbrite. So it was just public.
Oh.
So then a bunch of people I didn't know signed up.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty flattering.
And ultimately, I think only one person, two people that I actually knew in real life showed up to the first event. Everybody else, I had no idea who they were until they were like there. I think that, like 18 people showed up the first year. And I told everybody, like, because a bunch of people were like, well, it's too short notice, I can't come, because I think that I was planning it like 2 months out or something like that. And I was like, okay, well, I'll do it again if we can cover insurance. If I have to pay any of the insurance out of pocket, it's not happening again. So a ton of people bought tickets. I think like 70 or 80 people bought tickets so that I would cover insurance and porta potties so that I would do it again. And so 18 people showed up the first year, and I was like, is this? I don't know. So we did it again, and 75 people showed up the second year.
Wow.
And right now, that's the largest amount of people who have actually showed up at the event. And it was crazy, and it definitely like made me glad that I topped everything out at 100
it.
people.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that our little, like the field that we dedicate to it, the field that we dedicate to the event would be big enough for
To
more than 100
accommodate.
people. Yeah. I mean, like, we have more property. We have overflow space. It would be fine. We can make it work. It's just like having everybody kind of in one field is nice because everything is walkable. Mm-hmm. Not that it wouldn't be walkable if you had to park down next to the gate and then walk all the way to the center area, but it would be a slog.
So on that first one, did you plan it before you left on the pilgrimage, or were you releasing videos throughout and kind of came up with the idea while you were out on it?
For the event or videos?
For the event.
Both, I guess. Did you plan the party before you left on the pilgrimage?
I the roughest of rough planning before I left on the pilgrimage. Like, I was like, let's do this thing. Oh, a bunch of people want to be. And then my mom was like, you have to pay for this. And so I started the event right before I left on the trip.
Yeah, okay.
And then I got home, and I think there was like about a week leading up to when everybody was going to be there by the time that I got home. Because I cut like the last 4 days off of my trip because I was just like ready to be done. And so I got home like about a week, and got Briarios that week, my CB500X. And I very rushedly planned to be like, what do people need? I don't know. Water, trash cans, and a table, I guess.
Got a fire pit.
Yeah, we dug out a fire pit and put a tractor rim in it to protect the ground. And then people just showed up. And I did have a food truck the first year. Nobody bought food from the food truck.
Oh, no.
So that's why we don't have any food trucks. We don't have any vendors. It just doesn't work out. Everybody wants to do their own thing when they show up anyway, which works out for me. Less organization involved with trying to get food trucks and vendors and all that kind of stuff. And so it's kind of evolved into just like, I pick out the parts that I like about events, like, and I leave everything else. So there's no people trying to sell you stuff, so you feel bad for not spending money on that stuff because you spent so much money getting to the event.
Right.
No, that's cool. Yeah.
And there's no vendors and that kind of stuff. Some people are like kind of bummed out there's no like food there, so we started doing pizza. I think that was like the third year or something like that. And so like we buy a couple pizzas and we bring it all in. So if you're there, you get pizza. If you're not, you don't. Like
First come, first serve.
yeah. And I didn't do free alcohol or anything like that because like there's a lot of like permitting involved with that. But also, I feel like if there's free alcohol, people get belligerent and not so nice.
Alcohol's a dangerous game.
Especially if it's free.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Do you allow alcohol?
Yes, absolutely.
bring your own?
Bring your own, totally fine. And actually, a bunch of people share because they like buy a big 16-pack and we're like, oh, 2 is fine. And so they put it in. We have a communal cooler that's made out of a cow trough, and we fill it with ice. And so we keep it filled with ice, and people can put whatever they want in it. There's also a bunch of free soda in there, so if there's soda, you can take it. But then people are just like, yeah, I'm not going to take it with me, so drink all of it before we leave. So that's been really cool. And there's no bands. I thought about it the first year, but it's super complicated to get a band out there, and we don't have power, so I haven't found a whole lot of bands that want to play acoustically.
Shows, yeah.
And then that just worked out because like later I was like, well, that's fine, because I don't want to stay up and like with super loud, like especially like a lot of people who show up are like in their later ages and they don't want to be awake until like 11 p.m. midnight because the band is so loud. And especially where we're at in the property, there's like a big ravine around that thing, so it would just echo so bad, and then it would make all of my neighbors hate us. So
Not good.
Not good. We have had like I think 2 years, like a couple people brought guitars and they'll play around the fire, and that's totally fine. And that's super fun because it ends up getting passed around to everybody, and it's like really terrible karaoke. But I kept all the parts that I like. Like the part that I like about going to events is just like hanging out with a bunch of people and having a super chill, like laid back weekend until I do the slog back to wherever I came from the event. Like the good thing about going to events to me is like the ride to get there, because like I have an excuse to do this thing, like, and I'm gonna plan all this stuff to see these and get to this end place and see a bunch of people that I like, and like we all have the same kind of things in common, and we like motorcycling and we like camping and like being outside. Awesome. And hang out and just have a super chill, like laid back weekend, recover, and then get back on the road again. So there aren't like a ton of activities. Like we do go up to Missoula to go to Montgomery Distillery because they're super awesome people and they support us every single year. And they do last year, and I think they're going to do it again this year, they do a motorcycle show, so we'll go up on Sunday. And then we take everybody down to Farmers Market on Saturday, so you can pick and like get coffee and like little stuff and support our local community, which I really love.
It is cool.
Yeah. And then like you're kind of like you can do whatever you want. And we have a raffle on Saturday night, so you have to be back in time to have the raffle, and you show up in the middle of the raffle, everybody boos you. I think last year there was like 4 guys that like went up Lolo, and they came back like right at the end of the raffle, and everybody was like, how could you miss this?
That's cool. I like, create the event that you're into.
Yeah.
I'm into that. So this is going to be ongoing, you think?
Yeah, like this is sixth year, I think.
Do your parents dig it now? Are they
Yeah.
like, okay, we'll go halvesies on the insurance?
Yeah, like so, like year 3, I think like 9 people showed up, and I was like, okay, so this is over. Nobody wants like that's fine. We'll just stop now. And Mom and Dad are like, you don't know. It could have just been a bad year. You don't know. And I was like, what? Like, my mom especially. Like, I had to convince that it was a good idea to do this, and I was like. So the 3rd year, them being like, well, you can't quit now, was very shocking. Especially because I assigned Mom to be the gatekeeper. So, like, she's the one that you check in with at the gate the first day because I trusted her more to be able to lay down the law than I could.
Y'all come on in.
As a mom can do.
Mom's like, fuck it. Did you have insurance?
Right.
Did you bring your own toilet? Go away.
And I think that she kind of enjoys it.
Yeah.
And so we did it again the 4th year. I think like 30 or 40 people showed up the 4th year. And last year, like 47 people showed up, which I was really surprised about. I didn't think very many people were going to show up because of the world events.
Yeah.
But I think everybody just wanted a break and just didn't want to talk about anything else that was going on in the world. And
Just escape.
yeah, and it was like an unspoken rule. You just don't talk about anything else but motorcycle. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So have you met people that you didn't know that came to your event, and then you've just made friendships because of that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's great.
Absolutely. There was like a pair of old guys from Helena, Al specifically. He's like this I can't remember how old he was in the first year that he came. But he came and he was super talkative. Like, I was just like, okay, cool, you're adorable, that's awesome. And then I think like the second or third day, he came over to me and he's like, I have to talk to you. And I was like, oh God, what's wrong? Oh no. And he told me that, I don't know if it was the year previously or what, but he lost his wife. And he was full on ready to like just get on the bike and just go until he died. And his daughter intervened and was like, no, I found this girl, you should just watch her on YouTube. And so his kids introduced him to my pilgrimage. And I think I remember like somebody emailed me or whatever and were asking me about like if there was an actual map of the route that I did on the pilgrimage. And I was like, I haven't put that out, but I'll make that for you. And I gave it to them and they gave it to him. And he spent like the subsequent like year or so like recreating my loop of Montana on the pilgrimage. And he would like do a week or whatever, and he'd come back to Helena and do laundry and that kind of stuff. And then he'd go out for the next little section and then come back and that kind of stuff. And trying to tell the story without crying.
Just cry for it.
And he's just like, you do not know how many lives you touch and like how you helped me grieve my wife and everything. And I was just, oh my God.
Wow, that's special.
That's incredible.
It was so
Yeah.
cool.
That's incredible.
But stuff like that, it's been really cool.
Yeah.
That is great.
That's definitely like the biggest it's bigger than you thing ever, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you start doing something for yourself, and the fact that you're able to bring such joy and such inspiration to people that you never even imagined, like, that's just incredible.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. And like I think that was like the third or fourth year, maybe the fourth year, that like people who are watching my YouTube channel were actually showing up. And like being like, I know you, and like telling me about like how much they like my videos, and I was like, oh, this is so strange.
It is strange. Like, even just you walking up today and like, I know her face. Like, I was so excited. It's like, you've never met me a day in your gosh darn life, but here I am sitting here feeling like, I know you in a way.
Yeah.
Like, it's strange, but it's cool. I
It's
guess
really
that's
cool.
the miracle of the internet, right?
Yes. And like since then, it's been just really awesome because I was telling you that like it's just awesome now because I'm a very socially anxious person.
Same.
And so like meeting somebody and they already know my story, I don't have to catch you up on what I do or explain what I do or any of that stuff. And we've already like skipped that part, and all I have to do is listen to you, and it's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, little did you know we were going to pepper you with
Yeah.
I'm socially anxious, but also have a terrible memory. So
Yeah, well, I mean, kudos for showing up here. And
Absolutely.
yeah. So this year is sold out. Was it 100 tickets?
Yes, 100 tickets. Yeah.
So potentially 100 people showing up to this year's?
Potentially, I'm pretty sure maybe like max probably 75 people will show up. It's always like the ironic thing about being socially anxious is that I ran events for a Harley Davidson dealership for 2 years. So I figured it out, like pretty much the equation. If so many people say that they're going to show up, like
usually half, right?
Usually
At least
half.
that's what I've heard. It's
Yeah.
like half of
Yeah.
RSVPs
If-
actually get there.
if a lot of people are really enthusiastic about it, 60 to 70% will show up. But if a bunch of people are like, yeah, I'll be there, like 50% will show up. And that's been pretty much the rule for most of the thing. Oh, thank you. But yeah, that's been pretty much the rule, except for like that first year, which was kind of an outlier just because people just couldn't show up, and they said they couldn't show up, but they wanted it to happen again. And I think the second year we were very, very close to max. I think like 100 people bought tickets, and that's when Mom was like, no, we're making a hard, fast cut. Like nobody else could buy tickets
Right.
now because she was all freaked out.
Yeah.
And then 75 people showed up.
Wow.
Well, I want to make it. So, like, can we get a heads up on the next year? Maybe before it goes on sale?
I was actually thinking if 75 maximum are going to show up, so we could actually show up and be okay, right?
No, Mom's going to send us
Wait,
down the
wait,
road.
wait.
What's Mom
packing.
like? What do we need to bring to grease the wheels? I can crochet an Afghan real quick. Keith can make some metal shit.
Yeah.
Like, what do you need?
I'm always really surprised how many people have actually like DM'd me to ask me what my mom's like so that they can bring her presents. It's so cute.
That's awesome. There are good people in the world.
There are.
There
It's really
is.
cool. But I like the amount of people that like even just comment on videos that they're excited to meet my mom and my dad is like so adorable. I love it so much. I'm like, you guys don't know, but you're mini celebrities into yourself, so you're welcome.
That's awesome.
So that's Montana, right?
Yes.
That's where you hail from?
Yes.
When did you move to Portland?
So first, 6th generation Bitterrooter. Just gonna say that. I have to.
That's a long time to be in the same place.
Yeah. My seventh great grandmother, like, or something. I can't remember. Mom will be like, "That's wrong," when she listens to it. I know.
Comment, Mom.
But they came over from Sicily, and they changed the last name to Zito instead of Zito because we wanted to be more American.
Yeah.
And then moved their way to the Bitterroot, and we were one of many of the first families that were in the Bitterroot initially. And very long history of being farmers and ranchers and beet farmers for a little bit.
I love beets.
Office reference.
Yeah. And anyway, that was a tangent. Sorry. We're just very proud of being Bitterrooters because there's not very many like actual Bitterrooters left that were born and raised. And
Same with Portlanders, ironically.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all unicorns here,
Yeah.
except for Brian over there.
my
Oh, wait,
my
and
partner
Aaron.
is a unicorn.
Nice.
Born and raised in
nice.
Portland. Yeah.
No, not me.
God, I knew there was
Just
something
a
about you I
couple
didn't
of
like. I just knew it. I'm like, that fucking John. I can't pinpoint it. He's got something going
Got no
on.
horn.
Was
Born in Washington, my first memories were in Northern California.
Yeah, Orleans.
Yeah.
You lived. Good job.
That's cool. What brought you to Portland? What
right.
got you out of the
Yes.
Bitterroot?
I wanted to go to art school. So I'm the last of 6 kids, and my
Wow,
closest.
no TV, no radio.
What?
6 kids.
Yeah.
No entertainment.
No, my dad wanted to have his own baseball team.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're a bunch of little beet farmers.
Yeah. That's not a joke. He'll tell you his goal was to have his own baseball team.
Nice.
So yeah, last of 6 kids. My closest brother taught me everything that I know about art when I was like in primary school. So he was like in the middle school, getting into high school. He's 6 years older than me.
Is that the Gary that we see with you?
Yes. Yes. Favorite brother. Sorry, other siblings.
Okay. Sorry.
Shots fired.
No, I'm
I can't go
facts are
camping
facts.
without my siblings being like, why didn't I get fucking invited?
I think the rest of my siblings probably don't give an F about what I do, honestly.
We have Gary.
Yes,
This is
I have
good.
Gary. Favorite sibling.
Gary's rad for the record.
So
Yep.
he got you wanted to go to art school.
Yes. So he graduated high school in like 2004, 2003 or something like that. He went to the AI in Portland. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be an artist too. Gonna do this? Yeah. This is after I gave up my dream of being a jockey because I was too big and too fat according to the transfer
horse
from
jockey?
California. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. That was like my whole thing until 5th grade. I was going to be a jockey, period. No other B plans, nothing. I'm like,
This
I'm
is
gonna
definitely going to work out.
This is it.
I got the hat.
The whip.
I just knew that I wanted a job where I could just work with horses for the rest of my life, and jockey was the only thing that I was exposed to that made sense. Like rodeo didn't make sense. I knew that wasn't a long-term plan. Not that being a jockey is a long-term plan.
When you're
They
in
got a
5th
good
grade, it is.
pension.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about being a horse handler or a trainer, anything.
In a
Like,
stable.
and then this gal transferred from California up to our school, and like I made friends with her. I normally had made friends with people who were new to our school, because I was kind of ostracized by the other people besides like my very close tiny friend group, because I was mean. I was a bully. So
Were you really a bully?
I was a bully. Yeah.
Is it because you called shit like you saw it, or is it just because you're an asshole?
Yeah, were you a bully or honest?
Right.
I think my life as a bully started because I didn't want to make friends with anybody because my cows were my best friends up until 2nd grade.
If you don't need people, why treat them good?
Yeah, I don't know. And then I made friends with April, and she was my best friend from 2nd grade. Like up until now, she's still my best friend. And she was a little bit on the heavier side, so a lot of people made fun of her. And I could not have that.
Yeah, good
Come
for
to
you.
her defense.
So I was the bully. because she's the sweetest person. Oh my God. Could not say a mean thing to somebody's face to save her life. So I just became the bully. Like, this is Amanda. You're not going to mess with her. I am friends with April. You're not going to mess with April.
The pit bull. Yeah.
And like, not that people weren't straight up mean to me either. Like, I had like a lot of nicknames, like
Kids are
Zitface, Zito,
assholes.
Zitho, like everything that you could think of. Yeah, I don't know why I was
Kids
talking
are
about
the
that.
worst.
Oh, right.
Art school.
Art school, yes. Super long-winded story. I'm sorry.
Totally fine.
That's good. Getting into the meat.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So this girl came to our school and told me that I couldn't be a jockey because I was too big and too fat.
Yeah, way to crush a dream.
Right.
What's
You
your
can
plan
cover
B?
with your tears.
You can cut all
and
of that
move
out
on.
and just go from this girl moved from California and she told me I was too big and too fat. That's that.
Not a chance.
Not
If we have to
gonna
make it a
happen.
two-parter, not a chance.
And so I was like devastated. I came home like crying. And my mom was like, "What the f is wrong with you? You know, like what?" It was like, some girl told me I couldn't be a jockey because I was too big. And she's like, well, you kind of are.
Damn it.
Thanks, Mom.
Wow. This whole time I had this plan. Nobody said anything. All of a sudden it comes out.
Is that like American Idol? If you know, there's some people on there that family and
Oh,
friends.
that's when they
You're right.
learn they can't sing.
Somebody should have said no.
This is
I mean,
for you.
But maybe they just like
you
it
should
and
sing in
you
the
don't,
shower
huh?
all you want. We enjoy your singing, but don't go on American Idol,
Yeah.
right?
The whole family can't be tone deaf.
They did that shit on purpose. That's TV.
Yeah, TV.
Yeah, it's totally
They
TV.
have to have some of the flops to make it interesting.
I
It's
guess
true.
so.
Yeah.
This was the Art Institute of Portland that you were checking into?
So I did research for the AI, and I think by the point that I was actually seriously like going to pick which college I was going to go to, my brother had already kind of dropped out because AI is a school for profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went.
That's why they are shuttered.
I went
Yeah.
to before I got into sheet metal. I went into there, and I was just like, okay, 4 years of school. I was going for animation, and they're like, yeah, when you get out of college, you can make $35,000 a year. It's like, well, how much is college? They're like, it's $90,000. Math doesn't.
Doesn't add up.
I'm gonna be a welder and just kill it.
Yeah. Probably would have been a safer bet, right?
No, that's what I did, and it
Yeah.
worked out for me. But yeah, and I still draw. So.
Yeah. So like my brother was like, do not go to AI. Don't do it. I was like, oh, okay. So then I'm like reassessing my options here. I still wanted to kind of be in Portland or over in this area because like there's no art school in Montana. Otherwise I would have stayed in Montana. I would have for in a heartbeat gone to the University of Montana if my art degree wasn't just a bachelor's in science. I wanted a fine arts degree.
Yeah, that's AI was the same thing. Like
Yeah, it's a bachelor's in
I'm like,
science,
what?
yeah.
That's weird.
Because I wanted the option, not that necessarily that I was going to do it, I just wanted the option to become an art director if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And you have to have a fine
That's
arts
fair. I
degree
mean,
to
you're
do
paying
that.
a lot of money. You need to
lot,
get out of
yeah.
it what you want.
Yeah.
Could have went to Harvard.
And so then, like, my options were Cornish College of Art in Seattle or PNCA or some, like, SCAD institute on the East Coast. I knew I wasn't going to do that because it was too far away. I didn't know anybody over there. And so I went to a portfolio day, I think like my junior year of high school or something like that. And it was in Spokane. So my brother took me there and everything. And I laid out my portfolio and they were asking me all these questions. And I was like, yeah, I'm a junior. And they're like, what? Normally people who do portfolio day are like seniors or like
Ready to
graduated, you know? And I was like, I just want to know what I need to work on before I get there so I can get all the scholarships. And they're like,
Good for
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Good for you, yeah.
And PNCA was amazing. The representative was so helpful, gave me incredible critique, like what I needed to work on, what I needed to put in my portfolio to actually make it well-rounded to get the scholarships that I needed. And the Cornish representative told me to quit at high school and just go to college.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a pretty
That's
good
awesome.
compliment.
It's a compliment, but also I came away thinking like, what a thing to tell a kid to
Well,
quit,
maybe they were just trying to take
drop out of
advantage
high
of you.
school.
You're
Exactly.
pretty
Hey, Mom, I'm
So,
quitting
like-
high school. What?
Yeah,
The
like
fuck you are.
Okay, I'm naive. Let me just say that.
Well, that's just the way that I felt. I was like, don't
Really?
say that to
I have
somebody.
another year
Like,
at home, bro.
Especially at high school, or
Yeah.
I only needed a reason to not show up, really, because high school's just not. I think for anybody that's kind of intelligent or creative, just can't wait to get out of it. You
yeah,
know?
I was definitely a teacher's pet. I loved all my teachers. I did not enjoy my fellow classmates very much.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it's just because like the way that I grew up and like everybody that I was friends with before I started school were all way older than me, and like I was very comfortable hanging out with like my parents and their friends and that kind of stuff, because we always did Sunday dinners, so like all of my extended cousins would show up and they're all way older than me, so I just like very naturally.
That was your peer group.
Yes, exactly. So it was easy for me to like talk to them and relate to them and understand what they were going through. So it was always easier for me to relate to what our teachers wanted us to do and why they wanted us to do it than it was for me to relate to like why my fellow students did not care when the substitute teacher came up, like, and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Your maturity level was way high. Yeah.
Yeah. People
So
did not like me.
I won't ask how old you are, but what
But we
class of are you?
I'm class of 2010. I'm 29 now.
Youngster.
Yeah. That's what everybody says.
Oh, fuck, enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's
I
good.
used to
You're
be
killing
annoyed
it.
by that, and I'm like, please just ask me for my ID when I buy alcohol.
That's cool. Well, your artwork's insane. Super huge fan of it. I love it. There could be a few more baggers in it, but I mean, it could
If
be
you
partial.
go back a couple years when I was looking at the dealership, well, there's a lot of baggers.
There was?
Yeah.
I don't know. We were clicking through. We bought some stuff. Super fan of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I don't think a lot of it's on my Redbubble shop.
how could people find your artwork?
So I have like a whole website dedicated to my art portfolio. It's called blindthistleillustration.com. Blind is I can't see. Thistle as in the weed. Illustration.
So I know on there specifically not doing commission pieces right now.
No,
because
yeah.
it's just too much, right?
Yeah, I have a wait list, and I'm not joking. There are people on my wait list that have been waiting for me to work on their projects for 4 years.
Wow.
But isn't that just the greatest compliment?
It's hard to start at that point, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really hard to start, and I feel like it's less of a compliment and more a statement of like how overwhelmed I am.
Sure.
And how much at a point in my like life was I just like being like, yeah, I'll work on your project. Yeah, I'll work on I'll do that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Just biting off more you can chew.
Exactly, and got to the point where like could not keep up with, especially most of these projects I picked up like when the first year that I was working at the dealership, because like at that point I was only a lot tech and I wasn't making a whole lot of money, so it's like I need to do as much as I can to like
Supplement that income.
yes, exactly, and I have a lot of credit card debt, so that's part of it. And so I have a lot of people on that wait list are people who I said yes to in like 2017.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, it's been quite a hurdle to try to keep up with the people who are on the wait list, and also like my regularly agreed to contracts. Like I do the Women's Motorcycle Show poster every single year. I was doing the P&W Dual Sport posters every single year, and like that kind of stuff, because that's on the regular, so that goes over whatever the wait list is. The wait list happens when I'm
As
done
needed,
with the
or
stuff
as
that I've
time
already agreed
allows.
to do. Yeah, exactly. That have like solid deadlines on them. And it's been like super cool, and like about a bunch of the people that I've met as a result of like working on the P&W Dual Sport posters and the Women's Motorcycle Show posters has been super awesome. But yeah, super overwhelming. So I pretty much say flat no to pretty much everybody who can't pay me $1,000 at first now.
Yeah, that's they got to be serious, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're just wasting your time.
Yeah.
So before we get out of here, and I hope you continue to hang out after we turn all this shit off, but we started this tradition of the YouTubers that are nice enough to join us for the podcast that we make something for them.
What? Oh, it's heavy.
It is heavy. You probably got a garage. So we make these wall hangs. So
Show the camera. Can the camera see
Yep.
this?
yep.
That's so cool. Thank you guys.
So
Yeah.
you're part of one of few that have received that. So
You can't take it away now.
Hopefully.
It's yours.
and we also like to end each episode with a
But
toast.
before we do that, I just wanted to say I really loved the interview with Grandma.
Thank you.
a pioneer, and you've continued the tradition. It's cool.
Thank you.
Super cool. We appreciate you. To old friends and new roads.
To old
Old friends and new roads.
Cheers, you guys. Love you guys.
Cheers.
Love you guys.
Love you more.
Thanks a lot.